I am very, very honored. I'm not sure I really deserve this, but I am extremely grateful to the Sketch Club for this. And I've loved making videos of my fellow artists, and I think perhaps that's why I'm getting it. As a child, we had a brutal, sadistic art teacher, so I was anything but inspired. I had no interest in art, and it really was when I was 19, and I saw a Kandinsky painting in Time magazine, and that was the first time I really was interested in art, and I immediately went out and bought some watercolors and a rapidograph pen and tried to imitate Kandinsky. That's how I got started. Went to the University of North Carolina where I majored in mathematics, and then after I graduated, while I was taking the math classes, I started taking a few art classes as well. And after I graduated, I went back to the art building and was looking for a free art lesson, looking for somebody who might be an art teacher. And I met this guy named Mo Brooker. And he had gone to the academy. He was extremely encouraging to me. And maybe a year later, I asked him if he knew of any good art schools. And he told me that he really loved the academy. He had gone there. So I applied, and that's why I came to Philadelphia. And so many of the good things in my life, my friends, and particularly meeting my wife. I'm 72 now, and getting this honor is a wonderful capstone. Yeah, I really painted for decades, but then when the technology to make movies became so affordable, that's when I made the switch. So it was around, I think I first started dabbling in it around 2007, and by 2009 I was really pretty serious about making movies. In that making movies or making videos, you're constantly around other people because you have to go to their studios, et cetera, and it's less of an isolating activity. A painter could just be by himself or herself all the time for 4 years, have a brief opening, and then back to the studio for another 4 years. The future winners help keep the Sketch Club going. It's a wonderful organization. It's been supporting artists for, well over 100 years. And I think it's really a great organization, and I want to thank everybody who volunteers their time or works here. Great place. I think I'm most proud, not of my paintings, but of having created a archive of artists that are connected to Philadelphia on my YouTube channel. And I've been doing this obsessively for 15 years now. And I have hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I'm very proud that I've helped get the story of Philadelphia art out and memorialized a lot of great shows that, they're up for 3 weeks and then they're done, but they're going to be, as long as YouTube exists, people will be able to see them all over the world.
Oh, many things. From early childhood, I grew up over my dad's bicycle and hobby shop, and I started drawing buildings and cars and things like that. 67. So yeah. So art and sports kept me going. I was a gymnast. And I competed in gymnastics all through high school. Oh, it was a great experience. They were really, there was great instruction, and I just found my calling. I did a little bit of painting on the street then of the city, and I've continued to do that till now. I won a Crescent Traveling Scholarship. Well, painters I still study today, the Dutch landscape painters and Vermeer, and painters like Rembrandt, French painters that were plein air painters, Corot. Most of my career I've painted outside a lot on site. And painters like Edward Hopper, of course, and the ashcan school. I'm an ashcan school painter, really. Third generation. It's a nice honor. I mean, it's unexpected to me, and so I mean, I've drawn at the Sketch Club for years. It's always been a really nice place to come, so it's a really nice thing to receive something from the Sketch Club. If you want to make art, I mean, there are many difficulties to surviving as an artist, and if it's something you really love doing, it's a beautiful thing. I think people that are drawn to sort of looking at the world visually, there's endless things to learn about how to do it, and that never stops, which is a very kind of enriching pursuit. I think just the natural world and the world of the city, and just painting the light and the colors of the city. I go all over the city and explore the various neighborhoods and look at that and try to get a little bit of that onto my canvases.
Is this audio too?
Yes.
Say something quick.
I like that shot. That's a good one. Thank you, ladies.
Hi, I'm Syd Carpenter, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about my life and my work. Well, for any artist to get acknowledged by an organization such as the Sketch Club is just an affirmation. So for me, it just is one of those instances where I feel as if all the hard work has been worth it. Well, first off, it is my belief that artists are born. The seed for being an artist is in there, and so their life provides opportunities to act upon that. So there was no real inspiration. It was my nature. It was what I did. It's how I explored the world, how I experienced the world. It's your perceptions. Everyone sees the world and reacts. And as a child, my reactions were always to the visual cues and the things that surprised me and the things that I wanted to do something about, to look at, to notice. And so I was a child that noticed things, and when I noticed them, I wanted to do something with it. Well, my mother was a gardener, so I grew up in a garden. And so all of those kinds of things that were happening in the garden. My mother worked in a laboratory, and she would bring home animals, chickens and little rabbits and things like that we could play with and look at. So these were all things that stimulated my impulse to make images. She taught me how to draw, so I would draw the animals, I'd draw the little chickens. She would bring us turtles and things like that. So there was always something stimulating that got me to react with materials. Okay. And that there's no point at which I say that is the most exquisite, exceptional thing that I've ever seen, because it's all giving and taking, looking at something and saying, well, that's appealing. I'm really curious about the way that person might have done this. I can look at weaving, I can look at collage. Well, being in Africa, I looked at a lot of African textiles, the waxes, the different kinds of woven fabrics that were being done. I was in Ghana and spent about a month in Ghana traveling around and going to villages that were doing clay, going into the markets, because those are all the things that would stimulate me, is just the environment itself and what people were doing. Always hearing that the best dressed people in the world were in Europe, and finding that no, that's not true. Right. Some of the best dressed people in the world are in Africa. Absolutely. The most beautiful people in the world are in Africa. And so that kind of thing. I also like just looking at domestic spaces, how people live, what their tools are. Those are the kinds of things, the kinds of things that I'm interested in, because those speak to that culture. Those speak to the daily life of something, and you can elevate that, if you will, and not elevate to make it more special, but to make it to zero in on what life is like for that particular group. And so I'm interested in that. And the work that I'm doing now is about clothespins, antique clothespins, and that the clothespin represents my mother. And so looking at those kinds of antique tools, I've used antique tools in my work. And so looking at steel tools, looking at wooden tools, looking at woven tools, going up to to Doylestown, to the Michener Museum, and seeing all of the kinds of things that are there that represent, daily life, but beautifully so as sculptural objects. So I've been exhibiting it for years and years. There have been decades. Yeah, well, you can see it at the Art Museum, Philadelphia Museum of Art. You can see it in several. You can see it at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. You can see it in international collections, several museums around the country. So I do that, and I'm often invited to exhibit at universities and colleges. So the work is circulated. It's very visible, and one of the things I really love to do is to speak about that work and to make those connections with that community. Well, first of all, to value what you do, even if others do not, because it's really critical in the world that we're living in now for us to be vocal and to present our work in a way that shows that we are committed to the visual arts, to the performing arts, to literary arts. It's so critical that our culture not be deprived of the gifts that you can provide. And it's not always going to be easy. If you're in this for fame and fortune, move along, because this is about persistence. This is about valuing your voice in a culture. So my advice to you is persist, proceed, and produce. My vision for my own work, of course, is to always do the maximum in whatever project I'm doing, to do the best that I can do. So my vision has to do with whatever this project is, whatever the audience is going to be, is to exceed my own expectations, and certainly exceed the expectations of my audience. My vision is to make work that is going to be timeless, that there's going to be a memory, not just the memory of it, but the fact that it still has some relevance and it has some profound importance to the future.
I'm Dan Miller, the old Dan Miller who's been around here for a lot of years, about 60 here at the Academy as a faculty member, and keep trudging along. I spent most of my life as a painter, found that I was getting more of the kind of information I wanted in the prints I was doing and in the sculpture that I was doing, so I've been doing that primarily. I do prints in the morning, sculpture in the afternoon. I've done that every day of my life. You just feel there's something there that's been uncovered. It's there, and you need to find it. And I like the struggle of it, of not making it easy, but sort of unmasking it, or digging deep and trying to find the essence of something. It's nice too to have projects. I've done maybe 800 or 900 portraits of people that I like and don't like, mostly because I like their faces.
Who don't you like and who do you like?
Oh, a lot of the Nazis. I've done portraits of some of that crew. I've done writers whose work I don't particularly like. Probably most of the major writers of past and present.
Examples.
Poets. I like the idea too, maybe of sometimes having a show just of poets, just of writers. I've had shows of just musicians, composers. Every major painter that's working today Just do the best. I give the best insight I can give to the face that I'm working with, and let it go at that. I think sometimes some faces are easier to cope with than others, but doing a lot of critiques now. I go to student studios. Hopefully they're there. They bother to show up. We have a conversation just about the life of an artist, the life that they feel they've chosen, where they go from there. Further education, do they want to teach, do they not want to teach? Some of our faculty, Bruce Samuelson was a student here of mine. Oh, wow. Worked with Bruce. A lot of our faculty were trained here and simply wanted to stay on. So much of a painter's life is finding things out in the studio and working with yourself, like self-combat. My old faculty member, Morris Blackburn, used to say, I still don't know whether he was kidding or not. If a student sold something, he would say he deserved the commission because he helped them paint it. Well, learn the basics, learn the history of what you're doing, find people you can learn from, and drink as much of that as you can. Get it inside you. And then work. It's a work ethic. I put in 8 hours every day, regardless of whether I feel like doing it or not. And work from a system of belief, some kind of foundation. And try not to be superficial in what you're doing, so that the work comes to the deepest part of yourself. And I would hope that you work out of philosophy and not just out of like a casual visualization of things, so that your art isn't just surface. I love Philadelphia. I love the history of Philadelphia. I love these old organizations. They're important, and to keep them. It just, it makes us all stronger. I think about the history of the Academy here. What an amazing place. One of the great art institutions in the world. It rivals the best of what was happening in Europe.
And
just the momentum and the sense of community that you get, and it's such a beautiful neighborhood. And it's just it feels like home instantly. So I'm glad to be part of this, and it's such a beautiful place. And we have 4 wonderful artists to honor, and with that, I'm going to
this room tonight that have been recipients of the Sketch Club medal prior to this year, and James Toogood. James his name out loud is Garth Herrick. Garth, you have your medal on now, right? Go on, disappoint us. And Paul Gasol. Paul. Patterson, Signy in the back. Did you bring your medal tonight? Oh, yes. If Larry Francis would please come forward. Congratulations. Oh, very good.
Really appreciate it. I've come to this like quite a few years. I used to draw here any Saturday too. So thanks very much, everyone.
Now, the next individual that we're going to be presenting the medal to, you may recognize, but mostly because he was behind the camera taking video records of this event for the past couple of years. And so it's kind of nice to have him come up and stand in front of the camera for us. So please, John Thornton, come on up, Tony off, and I hung it up and I popped him right in the forehead. And it's a heavy metal. So here we are. John, congratulations.
I really thank the Sketch Club for this, and I also want to say that the
Other people who are being awarded tonight, Larry Francis, Dan Miller, and Syd Carpenter. I had made movies about all three of them, and I urge you to go, especially Dan and Syd, because they're not here, but Syd is just an amazing sculptor, and Dan Miller, if anybody here went to the Pennsylvania Academy, he's like the conscience of PAFA. Wonderful artist and wonderful person. So I was honored to be able to make movies, and of course Larry, I've made about, I don't know, 1,000 movies. Anyway, thank you very much.
I just wanted to point out to everybody that we're so thankful to you to come and support the Sketch Club at events like this. But I also want to point out that we really try to give a little back when we have these things.
We're going to start our live auction now and bring those pieces up here. We do have the silent auction downstairs. Anybody want to pay $450? $450? Anybody want to go $450? $450 for the piece, $450. Being the auctioneer at the same time. $150 for this wonderful, wonderful oil study. $150. Thank you very much. We got one wonderful $225. You want to go $425? $425 for this piece, $425. $425, $425, $425. $425. We got $425. Very good. Thank you. We go $450. $450. $450. $451, $125. Anybody like to take to $125? $125 for this piece of artwork. $125. We have the artist right there. We probably sign it for you. Get a photo with him. Hang it right next to the piece of artwork. Boy, Johnny, you're a popular guy tonight. 200. Woo! All right. 225. 225. Anybody want to go 225? 225. 225. 225 for the piece. Anybody want to go 225?
Hold it. Get a picture of me. I'll tell you what, I'll do this. Go ahead, hold it.
Oh, this is a piece by one of our recipients tonight who could not make it here. Syd Carpenter. You can read a little bit about Syd in her biography here. You can see how many places that she has studied, how many places her artwork is represented, and I'm sure, I looked at the auction records of these artists before we came tonight, and she has a very good auction record. So when you buy these pieces, you are buying something that also carries a track record for the artists in auctions. So you are seeing some good prices tonight. Yes, anybody want to go $100? $100 over here, $100 over here. Anybody around the room looking $100? Any piece?
Thanks.
Here at the Sketch Club, a good friend of mine, John Thornton, is being awarded tonight, and we came along with some other friends and neighbors that have known John for quite a few years, and we're happy to come celebrate his success. I'm with the Historical Society of Frankford, and I was remarking about your equipment and setup here as we try to do some interviews and programming, and we do streaming of our monthly lectures. It's a variety of historical topics. We try to find things centered either on the Frankfurt neighborhood or on items in our museum collection, although sometimes it ranges much broader than that. No, we know John through a mutual friend, Valerie Hanson's, and John used to live 3 blocks from our house, and he and Nancy were favorites of ours because they were one of the few people that you could just be walking in the neighborhood and knock on their door and pop in unexpectedly, and they'd be happy to see you. So we've had a long relationship with them. Yeah, Frankfurt's a very old neighborhood. It goes back to the Swedes who were here prior to William Penn. Wonderful. And we have items that reflect the history of Frankfurt through the Revolution, through its evolution until it became part of the city of Philadelphia in the mid 1800s. Yeah, we try to focus primarily on the neighborhood because that's what's unique about it. Our collection is really made up of items donated by people that lived in Frankfurt over the years, and it's very, very eclectic in its nature. Bruce McKenzie.
Thank you, Bruce
Right.
McKenzie.
This one has some little earrings on it. Better.
Yeah, I see. Cool, man. All right, now let me move.
Also, I really like this idea.
Thank you. That's Robert Logan, the guy who did ceramics and chemistry.
Oh wow!
I think it's LUTO.
And our slide storage, we keep a record of all the student work that's been done here, or a lot of it. And we'll see if Tony, whether Tony's around.
Thank you.